So let's work on problem number 15 here. They give you a function and they want to ask you where the function increases most rapidly. Well, if you're talking about increasing, you're talking about the property of the first derivative. But they are saying, I want your first derivative to be largest, right? So if you conceptually think about it, you're actually not describing the lowercase y. You are describing this y prime. You want this change of your function to be as large as possible. So if you call this your capital Y function, you're actually looking for when this capital Y is as large as possible or as small as possible. Therefore, you want to find local mean, local max of that. So you are looking for its derivative when it's going to be increasing, decreasing, which helps you to make your decision. So I find my first derivative. I'm using chain rule, so I can find it like that. Well, that's not the end of the story. I'm looking for the derivative of it, so I can discuss this function, where it's going to be largest, where it's going to be smallest, which tells me where the derivative of the original function is going to be largest and smallest. The derivative tells increasing, decreasing property. So the derivative is the largest, means the function increasing most rapidly, which was going to be answering my question. So this is the function. I'm looking for the derivative, so I'm using quotient rule. After I use quotient rule, I realize that the -2 is shared. The x squared plus 1 is shared, so I'm factoring that out. If I factor that out, the first term has x squared plus 1 left. The second term has a minus left, has a x left, has a 2 left, has a 2x left. Namely, that's going to be x squared plus 1 minus 4x squared. So x squared plus 1 minus 4x squared is 1 minus 3x squared. I have everything else cleaned up, so that's my expression. I'm looking for when would this be positive or negative. Namely, I'm looking for when this is going to be 0 first. For this to be 0, it's either -2 to be 0, which is not going to happen, or 1 minus 3x squared to be 0. That's something I'm trying to solve. Or x squared plus 1 cubed is going to be 0. X squared is non-negative. Plus 1 means it's always greater than or equal to 1. So this is always going to be positive. It will never be 0. So the only thing that's going to be possible is setting the expression to be 0 is this, and I find my solution. So I'm putting that on my number line. My bad. So if you're not sure where that is, you can conceptually use your calculator, or you can get something really extreme. If I get 1 million, it's definitely greater than this, right? So you can try to plug them in. You are looking for the sign of this function. Therefore, you are plugging 0 into it, which is this. If I plug in 0, it's negative times 1 minus 0, which is positive, divided by a positive number. So you are going to get negative here. If you plug in 1 million, 1 minus 3x squared is negative. Negative 2 is negative. The denominator is always positive. So expression is positive here. You can have the same discussion for this side. You plug in a really negative number. It's also positive. So it tells you, based on the sign of capital Y prime, it tells you the value of this. The capital Y is increasing, decreasing, and increasing. Therefore, your y lowercase y prime or the capital Y, either one, is going to reach a local maximum here. That's where the y lowercase y prime is the largest. So it's going to increase rapidly. So it's going to be -1 over √3. The other one is going to be the other part of the question.